If you were to order a Kvass in most American restaurants, you'd probably get a funny look. The fermented beverage is made from black or regular rye bread, hails from Russia, and has been around for over 1,000 years. Recently, Dan Woodske, owner of Beaver Brewing Company in Bever Falls, Pennsylvania, has written a book about Kvass titled Kvass, History, Health Benefits, and Recipes for the Russian Bread Drink. He joins us now. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, how did you first get into Kvass? When did you first taste it, and when did you first decide you wanted to make it?
Well, I actually first tasted it. It was in a can, and I saw it in a Russian grocer, and I just saw it, and I said, what the heck is that? I need to try it. So I tried it, drank it, and then after that, I was like, what, I need to see what this is. Looked on the internet, started doing some research, and I found out, about Kvass and how it's been around. It was one of the first fermented drinks in Europe. And I own a brewery, and people in my brewery are always looking for something new and exciting, and American craft beer is really getting almost to the ridiculous point now. I mean, we have 1,900 breweries in the United States, so always looking to do something different. In western Pennsylvania, where I'm at, a lot of European culture out here, so I figured, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's make a Kvass. It's something different. Maybe people will like it. And, it's one of the more popular drinks I have at the brewery, actually.
So tell us about this drink. What does it taste like? What does it look like? When you think about a drink made out of rye bread, you don't necessarily think, yummy at first, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of the history behind Kvass was, a lot of Russian peasants were, their main water supply may have been their pond that was in their backyard. And again, drinking pond water, you're going to get sick pretty quick. So they figured out you had to treat it a little bit. So the bread and the fermentation that took part when you're making the drink actually sweetened it up a little bit. And it was also, it was considered a health drink almost because they actually served it to kids. They put in lemons also, or some sort of citrus to sweeten up a little bit. And that's where you get a little bit more sugar in there. So, today a commercial Kvass will be really sweet. I would almost compare it to like a yeasty pop or soda, depending on where you're at. And, a traditional Kvass, if you make it at home, is going to have a lot of a yeast, a doughy taste to it. But Kvass is a lot of different things that you can add to it. Another traditional thing to add to it, which I add to mine quite frequently, is raisins and also mint. Occasionally you'd find lavender in there. So you can really, I almost compare Kvass to chicken noodle soup. You can just have noodles, chicken, and water, or you can add, carrots, celery, rice, pretty much whatever you want to flavor it up. That's almost what Kvass is. Those main ingredients of bread, raisins, and water are always in there, but you can really change it to whatever your tastes are by adding, mint, lavender, lemons, and a host of other fruits that can really flavor it up.
And let's be clear, you're not using pond water for your Kvass.
No pond water. It's treated water. But again, throughout history, I mean, more Russians, around the 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th century, they were drinking more Kvass almost than water at home. It was it was a staple of Russian culture for hundreds of years.
So it's a fermented beverage. So it does have some alcohol in it. Do people get drunk off of Kvass?
You could, but it would take a whole lot of Kvass to get drunk off of. The Kvass that I make is usually around 1.5% ABV, which is alcohol by volume. If you compare that to your normal beer, a normal beer is about 4.5 to 5.5%. If you make a Kvass at home, I wouldn't be surprised if it was about 0.5% to 1% ABV. So again, this is a drink that you can, in a lot of cultures, they'll serve to their kids and not really even think twice about it. Your mouthwash probably has a lot more alcohol in it than a glass of Kvass.
And let's talk about the taste. You said it has a yeasty flavor to it. Mm-hmm. Is it something, there's a sweetness though too. Is it something you would drink instead of a soda? And what does it go well with?
Yeah, actually, Kvass is a really clean flavor to it. It really isn't something that's harsh. It's not a harsh bitterness to it or anything. Things that pair well for it, pork, chicken, white meats, those types of things. Vegetables pair very well with it. But more of the taste, like I said, it is yeasty. It is a little bit of bread. There is some sweetness to it. A lot of people will add extra sugar to it to get some extra sweetness and also to add to the fermentation. And also, if you open ferment it, meaning you let wild yeast get in there, you get lactobacteria in there, and that'll give you a little bit of a sour type of tart taste to it, which a lot of people like. And that's actually got a lot of health benefits to it. It's got a lot of probiotics when you open ferment and let wild yeast get in there. So that's another health benefit of Kvass, which a lot of people use and let that wild yeast jump in there, and it gets really a totally different type of sour tart flavor to it.
You know, I mentioned soda, which a lot of people don't like because of how much sugar is in it. How much health benefits can you really derive from Kvass? I know you mentioned the yeast right there, but is it something where it could be considered a real health drink, like a V8 or something like that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The probiotics in it are really hard to get. I mean, it's almost similar to a lot of people eat yogurt to kind of help with their digestive tract. Those are the same things that are in Kvass. Kvass is, for those people that kind of get disgusted by yogurt, Kvass is a really good substitute for that. It's been used for hundreds of years to cleanse your liver, cleanse your digestive tract. If you have an upset stomach, it's another good thing to drink, similar to like a ginger ale, which a lot of people will drink for an upset stomach. It has a lot of the same things in there. Depending on what you add, if you add the lemons or citrus to it, you get a lot of vitamin C in it. Really inexpensive, and anybody can do it at home.
So you've looked at the history of Kvass. Why hasn't it caught on in America? It's still popular in Russia, correct? Why hasn't it really made inroads overseas?
I think probably a real thing of it is it's classified in here in America as beer. And when people think of beer in America, they think of a higher alcohol, something with a lot more hops in it. This is just kind of a really different type of unique drink. There isn't anybody really making a Kvass over here commercially. You can go to the local store and get an American Kvass. That's a really rare thing to find. The only people that are really making it, there's a handful of breweries in the United States that'll make it on occasion. I make it 12 months out of the year because, the people around where I'm at really like it and have found it to be popular. But I think it's something that if you're educated on it, there's a real push over here in America to drink healthier, eat healthier, just be healthier. I think if you educate people saying that, not only does this have alcohol, not only does it taste good, but hey, guess what? Like you said, it's got a lot less sugar than pop has in it. It's fresh. You can make it at home, and it's good for you. I think it'll keep catching on more and more as people become more and more informed about it.
Brewers often talk about trying to have consistency from one batch to the next. When you have things like yeast that are coming in from the outside or trying to control all these different flavors, how much can you have a consistent flavor of Kvass coming out, or is each batch that you make different?
Each batch is completely different, and I think that's somewhat of the fun of the Kvass, of making it, and for the people that come in and drink it, every time you get it, it's literally a different drink. I sell it monthly at the brewery, and every month I make it fresh, and whatever I don't sell, I just get rid of. Kvass is best served fresh. If you have it sitting around for 3-4 weeks or months, it's going to have, kind of a fun. It doesn't have many of the preservatives in it that your normal beers have, that your normal spirits, alcohol, or other drinks into it. It's a very natural, fresh drink. You should consume it fresh, but there's literally no consistency with it, which kind of makes it fun. Sometimes you'll get a lot of wild yeast in there, and you'll get a super sour version of the Kvass. And other times they'll ferment very cleanly, and you'll get a very smooth, sweet. I would almost compare it. It's less of like a sugary sweet and more of like a honey sweet type of flavor you get from it. So, it can really range in a full spectrum of different flavors, and I think that's what people really appreciate about it.
But you said it only lasts about a month. Is that another reason why you haven't seen a national brewer try to take this on? It's too hard to keep on the shelves?
Yeah, most of the commercial Kvasses that you will see, I would say, are more of, in America, we would call it an imperial beer, a much higher alcohol beer than normal. Most commercial Kvasses you'll see by breweries are around the 3.5% to 4% alcohol, which would be considered on the low end here of America for beer. But with that alcohol, you can add, alcohol is a natural preservative, and so are hops. So a lot of brewers in America will add some, more hops than, hops are not a traditional ingredient in Kvass. They'll add hops to it, and they'll add more alcohol to it to preserve it, to make it last longer. Like I said, I keep mine for no longer than probably 8 to 10 days. That's about all it sticks around for, and then it's either sold out or dispatched, and the next batch comes in another couple of weeks for the next month. But yeah, it's very hard to find a traditional kvass unless you pretty much make it at home here in America.
So you said you're making it 12 months out of the year. Where do you get all this rye bread from? Have you struck up a friendship with the local bakery there?
Yeah, use a lot of the resources of the local bakeries. Traditional kvass would usually call for, again, kvass was kind of a food of necessity. You need something to kind of cleanse the water, make it a little bit more palatable. So it was usually your old bread. Again, you think 1,000 years ago, you're not going to throw away anything. You're not going to be wasteful. So they would use old bread. I usually just get the bread, whatever they haven't sold from that last couple of days, dry it out in the oven a little bit, and that helps absorb some of the more liquids, so you get a little bit more flavor into it. But and that's pretty much it. But a lot of the local bakeries around here I'll work with, and get whatever they're not using, take that off their hands, and go from there.
You said it's hard to come by unless you make it yourself. You have this recipe. If someone wants to make a batch of kvass, is this something that they could do at home by themselves, or do they need to buy some equipment? What's the best way to go about it if you want to make some kvass and try it out?
Best way to go about it, if you have a pot that you can boil water and warm up water, you can pretty much make a kvass, and you can make it pretty easily. Again, the ingredients are just lemon, or you don't even have to add lemon. Bread, water, and I would add some sort of sweetener, usually a lemon, raisins. You can add additional yeast to it if you like. That actually helps speed up the fermentation. I usually add a little bit extra yeast. Or you can just rely on the yeast that's left in the bread, and also that's just naturally in the air around us.
So you boil them up, you get them all going together, then you let it sit. How long does it take, like a couple weeks?
Actually, you can start drinking kvass a couple days, usually. You can drink it anywhere from probably about 2 to 5 days after you actually make it, depending on what type of kvass you're going for, what type of flavor you're looking for. Did you add extra fruit? Did you not add extra fruit? You can even drink it if you wanted to, within 24 hours, just overnight. Make it in the afternoon, let it sit, ferment with the yeast. You'll see it bubbling up and get a little bit of a froth on top of it. Once you see that froth kind of die out, stick it in the refrigerator, get it cold, and you're ready to go.
Sounds awesome. So let's talk about the latest kvass you've made for your patrons. What's it taste like? Is it the one that's sour? Is it sweet? Do you give it a name? What's currently on tap?
Yeah, actually, I had a lavender mint kvass, which had, it's springtime over here. I have 5 different types of mint in my garden and a whole bunch of lavender. There's pineapple mint, apple mint, curly mint, peppermint, and spearmint in it, and a pretty healthy amount of lavender, good amount of rye bread, and a little bit of lemons and raisins were added to fermentation also. So there's a little bit of tartness from that lemon, but I would say it's much more of a smoother kvass right now, and the lavender and mint really give it a nice, fresh, spring, summery taste to it.
Sounds awesome. Well, I wish I could be out there to share a glass with you, but now at least I know how to make it myself at home. That is Dan Woodske. He is the owner of Beaver Brewing Company in Bever Falls, Pennsylvania, and he's the author of the new book, Kvass, History, Health Benefits, and Recipes for the Russian Bread Drink. Dan Woodske, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.